Your boy loves himself some Generation 3 NU, and so I brought y'all a selection of what I thought were some very interesting games. And one of the main things that made me want to cover this game was the usage by a good friend Kiyo of a Pelipper set that I hadn't actually used myself or really ever seen used, which, look, it's not really that interesting. It was Subtoxic Pelipper, but the reason I thought it was quite interesting is in large part because much of the outsider player base of Generation 3 NU, and this mostly means people that are more on the ADV side as opposed to the NU side, do not like Glalie in the tier. And I think this tournament has kind of shut down any argument that Glalie's broken. It just had a bad performance. But when a Pokemon is either, OP or just common, one of the most common, feels so funny to say that, but one of those common things that'll happen is people are going to go and look for ways that specifically score for that Pokemon, while of course remaining in the realm of viable. Because you don't want to run these overly specialized sets that do something well into one mon and they do nothing else good at all. It's just bad. So Subtoxic Pelipper, what else does it do? Well, also beats Metang, another common mon. Even if Metang isn't necessarily as common as it once was, back when, the birds, mostly talking about Pidgeot and Murkrow here. Golbat's still pretty common, all things considered. But when you had a lot more of them common, you saw a lot more Metang. Pelipper also does a really good job of beating that. Also does a really good job of checking Hitmonchan. Banded specifically, because Toxic sets, it gets a little iffy on what your speed tiers are. I think generally, though, you're going to be faster with Pelipper just because just Toxic Chan is always really slow. So you have a good amount of leverage around that mon. And of course, you're still checking the common fire types with Torkoal and Flareon. So very cool mon in general. I definitely think Pelipper is a solid water type, even though you've got to always contest with that whale. Even Huntail just is an offensive water. But let's get into it. Of course, before we get too far into it, if you hadn't seen the Twitter post yet that I made, I am engaged now. So that's really fun. Sounds so anticlimactic, but I mean, yeah, it's a good life, man. It's a good life. I appreciate all y'all for keeping me happy through all these years. That changes nothing about my relationship with YouTube, so hey, we're gonna keep on popping off though. If you want to help me celebrate, leave a comment down below. What's your favorite Rabia video? We got a lot, if you haven't noticed. I've uploaded a good few times on this channel. And of course, subscribe not already subscribed, leave a like if you are. Octillery lead versus Hitmonchan now. Oct lead, I love. I remember I started using this a ton at a point. I'm not gonna say that I credit myself for why it gets used a lot now, but I certainly was one of the people using it earlier than others outside of Baton Pass. I'll credit myself with that much, at least. Chan lead from Kiyo. Now, this doesn't mean anything other than it's a Chan lead, but the most common sets you see from Chan lead are Banded or the utility sets are Toxic, because they, you still get a ton of HP. You still get to max out your attack. You're chill. Uppercut is 5 million to the Octillery, and you do see it's banded just from the damage. And fortunately for Kiyo, FlamPoke did not try to scout anything. He had a Sableye. That's kind of crazy thinking about it. He had his whole Sableye, and you stayed in. It just to take 500,000. Oh, also, Subtoxic Pelipper kind of cool into Sableye. They pretty much always have Seismic Toss to break your sub, but you could potentially block a Toxic to then get a Toxic on it. I don't think a lot of times Sableye would bother Toxicking, but if they think you're Agility, Pelly, then, since Sableye runs mixed defense a lot of the time, you're gonna have enough special bulk to throw off the Toxic. Anyhow, though, Pelly does get the sub, does get the Toxic off. Calm Mind Sableye is a little bit of a threat. It mostly comes down to what type of Calm Mind Sableye it is, because it takes on a few forms. Hidden Power Dark, Calm Mind are really the only two mandatory moves, and then you've got things like Recover, Rest, Sleep Talk, Fire Punch even, Thunder Punch I think I've seen before. I'm not misattributing it having Thunder Punch, but this is just a Rest Talk Calm Mind set. So it's actually, all things considered, kind of not the biggest worry. Main reason because the Bandit Chan is still alive, and you just take so much damage. It's hard to feel good about resting again there, because you might just get crit and then die while you're asleep. So Chan is able to put it low enough now where Haunt can come out and threaten a revenge kill. Matang comes out immediately paralyzed, and Kiyo does have this Pelipper to always throw out versus the Matang. You can just sub up here very, very freely. It'll be able to do nothing at all. And as Artillery comes out, you can get a Toxic off on it. I feel like you should two-shot it. Kiyo opts to Toxic it first instead, which honestly I feel like is maybe a slight misplay, but that also assumes that Kiyo set 2 shots, and it may not. He could be a lot bulkier of a Pelipper, and yeah, Glalie gets absolutely smoked by a crit surf. And then we see the very funny world of Glalie, where sometimes, yes, this is all you do. You get 1 spike and you die. The crit probably didn't even matter because you have Flamethrower. Actually, no, the crit did matter. It's Spadef Glalie. It would have done 43 otherwise, and Glalie would have been like 63. And Flamethrower is not 1.5 times the power of Stab Surf. So it mattered enough, but I think otherwise, really, it was like, okay, Glalie was setting 1 spike and then maybe killing Octillery. But instead, Haunter's the one that does. So, kind of irrelevant. Glalie comes out here, though. Kiyo opts for a little bit of T-Bolt, because he also just susses out this is especially defensive Glalie. It's just not a threat to one-shot you. So he's able to get a little bit chip, throw up a Sunny Day. I thought Salic with Sunny was really weird, but I could kind of see a world if you're in Dur where it's still okay, because then you can guarantee your sun goes up for the Blossom here. But otherwise, I feel like I'd probably go like Magnet Haunter on a Sunny Day set. Anyhow, Bell comes out, kills the Sableye, and then we actually see, very funny, talked about Pidgeot, we actually see one out of FlamPoke. So that's pretty cool. Probably just standard Bandit, if I had to guess. The Bell is going to do 500,000 with these Hidden Power Fires. You are able to kill the Pidgeot here, but for some reason, Kiyo goes for Sleep Powder. Now, it took me I was thinking through this turn for a while. There's the obvious argument of it was just a misclick, don't overthink it. I was also wondering if maybe Kiyo was predicting this to, like, go for Quick Attack and wake up so he could sleep it on that turn? Because otherwise, I'm like, I feel like he's trying to manipulate Sun turns in a way. But, like, if he just HP fired again, he would have smoked the hell out of Matang. I don't know. I don't know what was trying to be accomplished there. I feel like it had to do with Sun turn manipulation just because he was almost out of turns, but I really can't think why Sleep Powder came out there otherwise. Because nothing was ever going to come out that you could even set Sun on. And if you were worried about Pidgeot being out versus you and you didn't want to, like, kill it, well, like, H-Power didn't kill that turn. I guess you could worry about a crit, but it's, I don't know. Nothing else revealed were you ever setting Sun on and then sweeping from that spot. Matang was paralyzed. So, I don't know. Maybe he was hoping Matang would come out and then he would get a full para, set the Sun, and sweep. Anyhow, Pelly comes out. It does actually get Toxic here. That's not the greatest. Obviously now there's no real point to subbing, so you're just going to see this throw off attacks. The caveat is this spin here doesn't really matter, and Hydra does 60. This also confirms, by the way, at least in my mind, that Octillery definitely died to Hydro Pump. I'm pretty certain Chan is just bulkier, even with the resistance taken into account. And the Octillery was at, when the Pelican Hydroed, it was at 37. Oh no, you know what? I'll trust Kiyo. I'll trust that he knew the calc. If anything, I just feel like Pelipper deserved to kill him, but whatever. Hydro's a million to this Chan, so an easy 2-shot here. Glalie could come out. It's just also going to be 2-shot though, so I don't really know. You could also argue, by the way, this is a slight adaptation towards Glalie, where maybe you'd usually run Surf and just feel more safe. Pump just means you 2-tap even the bulky ones. It's kind of like the same concept in Gen 2, where a lot of mons just run Thunder instead of Thunderbolt, because they want to KO mons through the Sleep Talk turns a little bit more effectively. Anyhow, here, you just see the Pidgeot try and pressure the Sableye. There's another Calm Mind Sableye, but Kiyo has a bit of a different one. Instead of Rest Talk, he actually has Recover. So this can just keep boosting versus Pidgeot as long as it dodges every crit. And we're gonna see Chan immediately come out there. And the thing is, this doesn't threaten with anything. Toxic is not a problem. You are toxic yourself, so you're not actually ever beating this 1v1. But you're also gonna stall it enough turns before the toxic actually really scares the Sableye. So as you see, Chan's already dead, it dies to toxic the next turn. Kiyo just gets to freely recover here. And I mean, barring a horrible crit out of Pidgeot, because you can tell from the HP flying damage, it would kill. But that roll may have not even killed. Yeah, no, Kiyo survives. And the Calm Mind Sableye is able to pick up the win here. Very nicely done. I thought Kiyo's team was a little interesting too, because it like kind of looks like an offense, but the Sableye, the specially defensive Glalie, and even to some extent Subtoxic being the Pelipper set, kind of reels it back into a more balanced angle instead, which I think is pretty cool. Also seeing the double ghost, kind of compensating for no Matang in a way because of what Sableye does defensively. You keep up having good explosion counterplay too, just, you know, resistance from Matang versus like immunities double stacked here. I think the concept of other mons setting up Sun for Blossom is also something that should see a little bit more use. It's just something that I feel is strong. I believe Arctic Breeze has done it in prior tournaments. Because I want to say his Diglett set, when he originally showed whatever EVs he was running, I want to say his Diglett had Sunny Day on it, but that may be incorrect. I'd have to go check. Anyhow, DracoPope versus Heysup. DracoPope is actually my ADV slot, Mr. Chungler. And I remember the prep for Heysup this week was something like he wanted a Subtoxic water type. And so I crafted a team that I thought was pretty good in the Heysup teams. Because Heysup, he'll use anything, but he definitely trends towards some teams that are a little bit bulkier. Not like Stall. He just makes you some more mons that are a bit obese. Like Togetic, for example. That's one of his pocket picks. So I thought a Subtoxic water type was cool. And well, the Kiyo game was on my mind, so I was like, hey, let's use Pelipper. At this time as well, I am just like team building in my free time on vacation. So like I'm in bed and I'm just like, let's see. Let's make some ADV builds. I definitely was on a mission to see how little I could care about using Glalie on all my teams. I think I had about 50% usage rate of it at the end of the day. Which, I don't know. Doesn't seem like that necessary of a mon to me. And kind of helped reaffirm that I was correct in my belief that Haunter is the best mon in the tier. I think recently, in my eyes, Haunter's like easily separated from Glalie. And yeah, he's just better. Anyhow, there's not really a lot to say because there's no lead, there's no preview, so we just see two Chans. Which is always kind of funny because it could just be double banded Chan. It could also be one of them is utility, or both are utility. There's a lot of funniness that can go on here. Personally, I'm a coward, I'd always switch. So, DracoPope does, he goes Haunter. He does not get goaded by the Ghost, but he does want to scout just to see if it's Bandit Chan. And at least now, Heysup is willing to pretend that he is, because he switches the Chan out. So we get Torque in versus Glalie. Torque opting for a little hidden power there, trying to catch a water type, maybe a whale, Pelly, Whiscash, what have you. And then Fire Blast to Glalie, does get a crit. This sucks, because you know this is Spadef Glalie, so with a Light Screen up, this would literally have maybe been a 3-hit KO otherwise. Pretty evil, by the way, that Glalie's bulky enough to do this, but you have to keep in mind, Torkoal's base special attack is really not good. So, crit there sucks. Otherwise, Heysup definitely could have gotten like 3 layers up of Spike. Or maybe even just gotten a kill with Boom. I guess it doesn't matter as much in the end because the Torkoal itself boomed. But it is definitely, I don't know, Torque got a twofer, so that's always a little bit better for the Torque user. Anyway, Glalie comes out, Haunter is here. Haunter could stay in for Chip if it wants, but there's really not any reason to take that early. DracoPope knows that Spike is free, so he goes for it. As the Rat goes for a sub, I will say I'm a little bit surprised he was willing to allow Rat to even just attack here. Like, EQ just feels off to me. I would have swapped always, but I guess if you don't have a good mon in the back... Oh, wait, you have a Matang? I would have always just gone to that immediately. Raticate! I'm not really worried about it. I guess staying in once is fine though. And it does give you the knowledge as well. This is Lychee Berry. You may wonder, why is it not got an HP number to let it get its berry activated after only 3 subs? Well, because they're all reversal Lychee. Kingler comes out though. Kingler, a very nice mon to check this Metang because EQ does not do any sort of damage. And now it's gonna be able to sub Swords Dance, and this boy is Salic Flail. Very scary mon. Fortunately we do get rid of its sub, and we do have a Chan with Mach Punch. You will see that revealed. Now here I believe Mr. DracoPope makes a bit of a misplay here. He allows Pelipper to take 500,000 damage from Flail to kill Kingler. Now, in my mind, I would just sack Haunter. Just would. Technically, it's not even a sack, because if you want to bait that you're Endure Salic, Heysup at least has to try to play around that threat. You will outspeed this. Technically, there's a chance it can't even touch you if it's HP Ground Blast, but I'm gonna be real. They're all HP Ghost, because there's just no world where you allow yourself to be perma-walled. But yeah, I would always go on Haunter there, because I think it always is flailing, and Haunter at least can pretend it's Salic. You also have Chan, though, so like if they were to like catch you, or you were to lose that exchange, you always have Mach Punch. And I just think forcing out this Kingler, and then even if Haunter comes in on the Mach, it doesn't really matter. You have full health, bulky Glalie, almost full health Metang. I am not moved by the Haunter coming out. I'm sorry, it is not winning. So definitely a very, very bad misplay there. I think he just tunnel visioned on like the threat of Kingler being so high, and allowed Pelly to take chip. You'll see why it's a misplay later. Glalie comes out though on this Haunter, and this is why I was saying I'm not moved. So like, he's able to stay in just Shadow Ball. It's such an easy 2-shot. Like, Rat does come out here, but you already got your chip on this. You still have 2 full health. Even if Metang gets hit by this Rat, you don't even care. You still are fine. And look, he even allows Glalie to take another hit. He's still fine. You have a full health Metang to not lose to this Haunter. You can go to right here. You can hit him with the mash of the Meteor. Now this is actually kind of bad, where you lose Glalie to the Rat though, and then lose Metang. And it's because of the context of losing Pelly. Metang at the very least versus Tropius could threaten like Toxic, and it just makes the sequences a little harder for Heysup. He's sub SD with another Salic Berry. You at least have Boom and Toxic threat to like make this thing scared, and if you outplay, you're probably always winning. Even if Metang is, or not Metang, even if Pelly is weakened. So instead what we get is this. He has to HP Ghost twice with Chan and just not let this get behind a sub. Like, there's definitely the idea that he could have switched there. I don't think we're ever switching personally, so I don't really know why sub came out. I think it's just kind of play off the choke, and you're still good even if it stays in because you're out of Mach range. But this is why it was so important to keep Pelly alive, because we do have Ice Beam. We would have easily lived a +2 HP flying. So we would have been able to just sack Chan and then go Pelly. Mach Punch here is correct, by the way, because it's dead to a crit. But then we go Haunter, and kind of this is got another 50-50. Are we Salic? I talked about baiting that with the Kingler. You kind of also have to play to Heysup, worrying about ear, and it works. He goes for SD, and we just T-Bolt. So not the cleanest game. What's crazy too is I don't even think that Mr. DracoPope misplayed any turn particularly poorly, other than the one turn with the Pelipper versus Kingler. That's the one play that I think you need to clean up if you're looking at this as a review. I think Haunter there, really it also is just looking at looking at the team he's revealed and then like what mons could be last. I think generally speaking, it's less likely Haunter is useful compared to Pelipper. I think Pelly's got a little bit more that it'll be generically good against. I know like Fast Boom is always hard to pass up on, assuming the mon even has Fast Boom. I don't remember what our set was. There's so many variants to Haunter. You even saw his was a Destiny Bond one. But yeah, I digress. We got another game, MZ versus Django, 2 SCL teammates. MZ's the one who 6-0'd me in SCL. I got my one ever SCL start this past year. I got swamped. I was playing PU though. You think I play PU at a high enough level to not get trashed by someone that mains it? No! Django also wanted to play more ADV lately. So, we got a Hitmonchan versus a Torkoal. This is always a bit of an innocuous lead for the Chan. Like, if you're banded, you are not staying in, unless you want to try and two-shot with Earthquake. If you're utility, you can stay in Toxic. If you're fine with, like, trading Toxics, it's acceptable. Yeah, nothing wrong with that, really. Unfortunately, Flareon comes out, though. Gets a Poison on it immediately, and well, the Toxic on return's good, but now, again, you're just, like, losing so much of your Mon off rip. I don't know what the chance set is, obviously, at this point of spectating. I definitely would be looking, though, for Toxic in turn 1 if you are utility. If you have it, of course. So, Glalie comes out to check the Whale. Surf still does 5 million. Gets its Spike here. You could EQ if you care, but there's no reason to sack your Mon. Especially because, look at that, Mash came out. So, Whale comes out, doubles back to Glalie, looking for more Spikes because may as well. So there you go. This is about the most useful Glalie has looked in any game so far this tournament, where Django's Glalie did in fact succeed in getting 3 layers. And then it switched out because he wanted to preserve it for later in the game. So Chan comes out. We actually see MZ also go Haunter just because he wanted to block a Boom if he could. It is where we see there was a bulky Chan because Psychic did 3. Nice Mon. Nice Mon. Chime comes out now. Chime is pretty scary. You do have a Sableye at full, so it's not like that scary. The problem is MZ's set. Yeah, he's Toxic. So he does it 1v1 Sableye. Also, he missed. But he can actually just punish Sab and make sure that it long term is a little bit worse. Now, he's actually Shadow Ball Sableye. So I'm gonna be honest, in this setup, he is fine. Shadow Ball Sableye does 1v1 Toxic CM Chimecho, because they're going to be Psychic and Hidden Power Fire is their other 2 moves. He's just never taking them on that literally can't touch Metang. So, it's not even that big a deal if this gets poisoned, it's just kind of like, it may make it mildly inconvenient. Now, unfortunately here, Mr. Django decided to stay in and get thwumped by Surf. He probably predicted HP Electric there. The thing is, you have a full health Glalie still, so there's just no reason to make that prediction. Surf is always freer. And now, with all the spikes up, this Mon is almost dead. So Boom gets eaten up by the Metang. Also, God, MZ's team is so standard. I'm looking at it now, I didn't even notice. This is like literally the quintessential explosion spam build. Oh. Glalie sacked there though, so MZ gets a little bit of momentum. And his Whale will now be exploding as well to take out the Whale Lord of Django. I lied, it did not do that. I think it does this turn. Yeah, because you're trying to just set it up for Chime. You do not want an opposing Boomer alive. So now instead we get Chimecho mirrors. It really feels like 2020 ADV NU or 2019 ADV NU all over again. Back when this Mon Calm Minding up versus the other Chime was a very common sequence, and you just saw who got a crit first. Now, I want you all to note, the opposing Chimecho has won every speed tie. This is what we call not a speed tie. This Mon is just faster. And of course the Toxics are kind of annoying. You definitely burn out all of these heal bells if you so choose. MZ, as you can tell, is not choosing to. It doesn't really matter if he does or not, but it's, you know, it's an option. He throws in a Toxic every now and then just to make this waste a turn going for the heal bell so he can catch up with the Calm Mind boosts. And again, like I said, there's no speed tie to be found. That Toxic miss is kind of annoying, but I'm gonna be real, at that point I'd just be Psychic spamming anyhow. Unless you're trying to, at this point, burn out the heal bells, you know? But now we see the attacks, they're just gonna trade hits. There's nothing to commentate about. Until we get to... Nah, it's this coming up turn. So, 18% here. MZ's getting some pretty low rolls, it appears. 19 rounds up to 20. MZ fails again to kill with a Psychic, and then that Psychic killed back. So apparently, Django got literally 2 perfectly maxed rolls. A 1 in, what is, oh god. A 1 in like 256 chance? Django just high rolled? Insane. And according to MZ2, his Chime was like plenty fast enough to outspeed all of the Flareon, the Hitmon, and the Sabes, so there was absolutely nothing that Django would have been able to do at the end. You know, you see Toxic on Flareon, he ain't quick attack. This is just not a thing. The Chan also Mach Punch. It was not killing this, dude. It just was not. Actually, Mach Punch may have been able to kill. It's just... This was probably not Mach. A lot of the time, the utility Chan is just toxic spin uppercut HP Ghost, because running mono Mach Punch as your stab is a little bit cringe. Pretty much the only way you are able to fit Mach Punch on the side is you drop Toxic, and it's still good, but it has its issues. Hey, my ADV slot again. You know why? Because I like this game. Anyhow, this game, it's mostly because this game similarly came down to like one specific turn. This time though, it's the other player that misplayed. So Flareon lead into Torkoal. We just talked about how Torkoal runs Rock Slide to not lose to Sub Flare. I actually don't think I said that, but it does. It's literally so lead Flareon does not get a free sub. So you will see Rock Slide come out from this Torque as Double Edge from our Flareon does an entire 5. My god. Until comes out. Violet does try to hit him with a Overheat. It would have done a lot, but miss is a miss. Now, I will say, this turn to me made no sense at all. We Rain Danced. The Glalie spiked. Oh, my bad. We didn't switched. Why? Why? Why'd we switch? Were we trying to predict them to explode as we didn't kill with Hydro Pump? Was that the play? We Rain Dance to force, like, to scare them? And try to bait the boom? That is literally the best logic that I've been able to come up with off that turn. I remember at the time looking at that replay and be like, wow, I have no idea why that happened. Very funny. Anyhow, we mashed for 8 versus Torkoal because Torkoal does not care. This Overheat miss is arguably worse for us. Obviously, it did nothing but activate Flash Fire, right? So it's not like Violet cares. But I'm honestly wondering if Fire Blast from Mixed Flareon does more than double-edged with Silk Scarf. There's a chance. There's a chance. I'd have to calc to confirm, but Torque naturally has much more physical defense than does special. And, you know, this time versus the Glalie, we get to 2-tap of Pump. It's interesting because this totally could have been that it was Modest Huntail. I am not pulling out the calc to confirm the damage rolls. We were either Modest, though, and their Glalie had 0 speed, or we were Timid and they aren't creeping Timid Huntails. So that was funny to me. Plusle comes out. We've seen very minimal usage of Plusle this tournament. Electric types in general have just not gotten any usage, which I found kind of peculiar. But the Plusle not being able to 3-shot Glalie is probably a reason. Forced the Baton Pass out into Metang, which I thought was a very funny occasion just because, well, we just used DQ. And wow, my throat is very unhappy. Not like it would have died, but still. So, our Metang goes for Protect. You see that we do not have Explosion, most likely at least. We'll have it revealed on this turn whether or not we do, and we do not have Explosion. But Violet now reveals what I believe to be the best Metang set, Agility. I think Agility Metang right now kind of capitalizes on how, or makes use of the fact that Metang is not being tasked with defensively answering Pokemon like it used to. So now you still get bulk on Agility sets, but you also just have a lot more late game threat. Now here, I think this is probably the best play that Chungler had. Literally going Huntail just to force us to boom. Still was a bit of a bad play, by the way, in the sense of there could have been a Ghost on our team. I think it's just kind of acknowledged by Violet that there's absolutely zero world where we can risk that Metang doing anything else. It's just we also have 2 unrevealeds. Like, one of these is a Haunter right there. So I thought that was hilarious there. The opposing Haunter goes for Endure. We T-Bolt. My guess is literally just in case of Endure, so good play there. Unfortunately for us, we do not Endure ourselves to get a Salic, but our Glalie is able to enter. And here is where Violet throws the entire game away by T-Bolting and allowing us to kill with Shadow Ball. It's not that this was necessarily something they could have known would cost them long term. However, you have probably no justification for choosing to sack Haunter over, like, Torque. It's just, what are our possible last mons that this is more useful for than this? I'm not sure I can think of any. Like, maybe you're scared of a Blossom? I just don't feel like this is a Blossom team, personally. You could do some double weather stuff, and I really feel like that's the one mon that I'm able to think of that maybe you want Torque for. Because I'm pretty sure it lives a Solar Beam from, give it the lefties. It'd be like 33. I'm pretty sure it can live 1. But also this can, so, you know, this literally doesn't die to anything from Bell at full. So, Haunter dies. And it doesn't look like it cost the game yet for him, but trust me, it will. So, Plusle now can kill Glaive with T-Bolt, and it reveals that we're a Chanlast, which is innocuous enough, and also, of course, this shows this would have been a lot more useful. And they sub as we bulk. Now, sub here is interesting because it definitely doesn't help, but you technically could have baton passed to sub, I guess. I definitely would have been T-bolting by the Plusle forever. I do not know what sub does. In a way, you could argue sub actually was also what cost him the game, was you definitely do at least 25 with T-bolts. So, unfortunately, yeah, 2 what it seems like were misplays from Violet. Maybe I'll ask them why they subbed with Plusle there, because I would actually argue this game was still winnable had they just not subbed. Like, throwing away the Haunter was, of course, bad, but I can kind of get it if there is something in the back that you fear, right? Because I may just not be thinking the Mon. Maybe Violet had a Mon in their head that they were scared of if it was the last Mon, and they thought those 3 instead of Haunter were necessary. But I don't know. I personally can't think of any Mons, and then yeah, we see a very, very random, in my view, sub out of the Plusle. It's just, yeah, I can't justify a sub there. Wow, I'm so sorry for dying on y'all there. That's gonna be it for me for now. I'm gonna go rest and hope my throat feels better when I wake up. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.